Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's vOLTHA TST call. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared um, on YouTube. So please be mindful of the comments you make and the information you share. I just realized I'm on the wrong document. Just give me 1 second and I'll change that. So today, first of all, I'd like Theo to give us an overview and a current status of the kind vOLTHA deprecation and the patches that he has put in. Just an update on how things are going effectively. Theo, would you mind?
Yeah, so the patches are in. Nothing is broken. They're still the Helm charts are still getting installed via kind vOLTHA. I'm now working to move the CI pipelines to directly use the Helm charts so that we can deprecate kind vOLTHA and stop supporting it. There is a small thing that we won't completely remove kind vOLTHA. At least until 2.8 will be out, because until then we will be supporting 2.6, and for that we need to install it via kind vOLTHA, because the new Helm charts won't be backward compatible with vOLTHA 2.6.
Yes, thanks, Theo. And I know you also have the patch to remove actually vOLTHA ONOS too, which is this one. This is lower priority and will be tackled, will be re-looked at when the changes are done for the pipelines to install with the Helm charts that Theo has put together instead of kind vOLTHA. But the idea is to effectively use the base ONOS and just install through a set of configuration loaders the application. So if anybody has some time and is interested in this, just go take a look at that patch there. It's a way to remove one object from the release cycle and one source of versioning issues, mainly in the past. There's been some of that has given us some thoughts, and so it's better to remove it.
Yeah, just one less thing we need to maintain. Yeah. And we're basically maintaining it to avoid 5 REST calls to ONOS.
Is this, I guess that doesn't really, it relates to, but it's not dependent on the issue of config pushing before applications are active. Is that going to be addressed as part of the push to use the base ONOS image as well?
So you bring up a good point. We've raised the JIRA. We need to discuss what is the best option with the ONOS team. We have not done that, so it might be addressed within the same review, or it might be addressed later because it would need a new ONOS release. So I guess it's in progress. That's what it is.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, but for the moment, we can basically do the same thing we do in kind vOLTHA, that is to check that the application is enabled before pushing its configuration.
Yes. Yeah, that is what I would do. Okay. Thanks, Dale. Thanks, David. Okay, so next up, just a quick sync on the multiple keys etcd delete. The consensus was that the patch is okay, but we need to remove some stale console code that was stuck in there due to, well, nobody actually touching it. So we expect Circuit to remove that code within the patch and update the patch. And as soon as he has done that, we can then merge the patch. Anything else I missed on that, Circuit, Theo?
Just one thing, because unless Serkant has already integrated it with the patch, I think we can remove console in a separate patch because it's really a conceptually different task than the multiple keys delete, but just a finesse.
Yeah, I thought that's kind of what we agreed on, is already put that in a separate patch. And the only concern is that it actually get done and not get just backlogged.
Yeah. Circuit, are you doing it in the same patch or in a separate one?
I can provide a separate patch.
Okay.
I didn't look at it yet, so we can merge this one, and I can provide another patch.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks, Circuit.
Sure, no problem. Also, Ken, I remember, has a comment about the number of deleted keys. So basically, we are removing a range of keys, and he asked, what if etcd cannot delete some of them and cannot able to delete some of them? So there is no control of that right now. If that is acceptable, then we are ready to go. I'm not sure. I couldn't find a solution
that certain keys aren't. How's the error returned to the caller?
There is no way, as far as I see from the API documentation.
The comment was really about, like, if we can't delete all the keys, does the etcd client returns an error, or it still returns successful with the number of keys that has been deleted? And I don't know if there's an easy answer for that, because I checked the documentation. I didn't see much on that. All etcd says is what it returned to a gRPC on the gRPC channel to the client, etcd client. But beyond that, it doesn't say how that get populated. And there's a way for us to figure out if everything got deleted. That would be to first query how many keys are there in that prefix, and then do the delete and look at how many has been deleted. But I don't know if that's an overkill or not.
So when I delete multiple keys, if there's an error, it's not returned by etcd API?
We don't know if deletes partially.
For partial deletion, it's not clear in the API whether it will return an error or it will still say it's successful. And that's a hard thing to try, because you have to create that case where you have to inject things in etcd and try to delete it and see if it can delete certain things and not delete other things.
Considering it's a highly consistent database, so if it cannot delete all of them, probably it returns an error, but doesn't say in the documentation, as you said.
I agree with Serkan that it will probably return an error, but did we try to peek at the etcd implementation for that API? Maybe we can figure out whether it will return an error or the number of deleted keys.
Yeah, that's an option.
Okay, then maybe if somebody can or Circuit, if you could take a look at this, so we are sure of how many keys get deleted and if everything or nothing, it's an all or nothing, or it's a partial delete. Please do take a look. And
I'm not sure the number of keys is going to help us until, unless we're going to do the query first, like Ken said, and then of course the possibility that if we do a query, between our query result and the actual delete key, someone adds a key, right? So the count's not going to help us, right? It's going to be a error or not error.
and exactly. So let's see if the API returns an error or non-error, and then let's take it from there. Okay.
Okay, I'll check first the API. If I cannot find something in there, then I can check the source code and try to find anything useful.
Thanks, Erkan. That's much appreciated.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. Anything more on this topic?
The only thing about looking at the keys first, I believe there's a lock in the client, so that in principle should prevent that from happening, from something being added after. But I'll let Serkan look at the code actually and see if we get an error. That will be ideal.
Okay. Sounds good. And then, so we're gonna hold on this until we get confirmation of this all or nothing approach from a TCD, and until we have the patch for console. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. So next up is a topic that was scheduled for last time, but we never got to it, and it's the timing and the counters from Chip. Chip, would you like to share the screen for the slide you sent, or would you like me to open it?
You can open it since it's a single slide.
Yep.
No, it's actually a little bit lower. It's at the bottom of your screen. Google Doc, If you go down to the bottom of your agenda notes.
Is it not sharing properly? Is it not this slide?
I'm not seeing the slide.
I've got a little window that says reconnecting. I don't know if that's me or.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Oh.
Or you. Well, if multiple people are seeing, then it's not us.
There it goes.
I was looking at the right document, just in a different screen. So there we go.
Okay. Yeah, and this was basically, I've been going through and working on system tests and some automation, and I came across, I guess, 5 bugs or issues during the investigation, and we talked a little bit briefly on one. Is the counter frequency used to be 1/10 of a second, and the OpenOLT is using seconds. And I think pretty much everyone's was somewhat in agreement briefly last week that just going to a 1 second value is much more appropriate. So that's the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then the remaining 4, I guess 3 of them may have effect with the northbound consumers. So I think what happened was when the OpenOLT or the vOLTHA Go library was created, they didn't pay too much attention to some of the values actually being copied over. So one significant one is that in the OpenOLT, or the adapter uses the Unix nanoseconds value, which is uint64, and converts that to float, where the original was just seconds since epoch in float. So that's I guess, do we consider that a bug in the vOLTHA Go adapter or the library?
It's a good question. I'd like to hear people's thoughts. Maybe somebody that was there when the library was created, or somebody that uses it. I don't know.
Yeah, Scott, I think Scott and team worked on that. If the protobuf, if the proto definition say it's seconds, then we should pass it as seconds.
Yeah. And for some of these, I can go ahead and file the bug if I just wanted some discussion, because things seem to be completely askew from what it used to be, and I wasn't sure if any operators, Deutsche Telekom or Turk Telecom, or any people who actually do some services have this would affect them. So the second. Okay, so I'll go ahead and follow something on the timestamp so we can have that changed for JIRA. The next issue was in the KPI event 2. The OpenOLT is using its own counter names like RX bytes instead of the original values that used to be in the reported.
Does anybody know why these got changed?
From what I know, they were taken, they were mostly inspired, or you could, if you could call it so, from the Broadcom BAL reported counters. I mean, I think they use the same names.
Also, this is actually
not paying much attention. Say, what are you saying?
So this is actually a case where they said, oh, the Broadcom names it this way. They were called the other way before, but let's scrap that and call them this way because Broadcom calls them that way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, the Broadcom counter names were directly used in the OpenOLT adapter before pushing them on Kafka. I think in the Python version, they had different names.
Yeah, what the strange thing is I guess the OpenOLT agent is placing them into the port statistics message and sending it to the OpenOLT with the original counter names. And then the OpenOLT device adapter changes names back before they put it on Kafka, out on the Kafka bus. And, so I'm wondering, should I use the exact same values for the 10 reported statistics, or should we fix the OpenOLT adapter?
I have no strong opinion, one way or another. I mean, if operators are consuming these counters with a particular name, then it's good always to fix what names we want to use.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering if, since, work has been already done to do those statistics, I don't mind changing what I report to be what's being put out right now, but there's also additional counters in those messages that can actually be output. I just don't know if anyone, I hate having to play catch up every time someone decides to deviate from the way it used to be.
Yeah, so on that note, I think that with proper documentation, we can do it. I mean, we're doing this is not going to be in 2.6, it's going to be in 2.7. So if somebody wants to go on 2.7, it's a new API. It's sort of a change of an API, which is fine. We're going to do it. And
yeah, but that makes it a major release, not a minor release.
Well, we have been changing APIs and calling it minor releases.
Yeah. Well, the thing is all of this was very heavily documented. Every single bit of this was heavily documented with markdown files and examples, and it's basically the vOLTHA Go just went on its own way on how it decided to do things. So is that an API or is that a bug? I think it's a bug. I mean, it's basically it's broken.
I can get behind that argument.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to get it fixed now so that we, as 6 months from now, as things go into production and other adapters appear on the market, that we're at least somewhat consistent on what we report.
I would agree that
Yeah, me too.
call this a bug and fix them the way they're supposed to be, and not the way vOLTHA libgo just completely ignores them. One thing to keep in mind while doing this, Chip, is to check both the Python version of the ONU adapter if it's affected, and also the Go version of the adapter, because the Go version of the OpenONU adapter uses vOLTHA libgo. So while these might be OLT counters, just make sure that that if we do changes, we are porting them across both adapters. The Python one, because you're interested in it, the Go version, because it's the default one.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and place some JIRAs on this to see if we can get those counter names corrected in the KPI2 event for the Go version, to see if that would work. And if that gets accepted or if it gets rejected, we'll just, that way we won't have to drag out this discussion.
Yep.
And then the last two just mainly deals with how they're being reported and being consumed by the Kafka type exporter and the NIM monitoring. So some of the counters, changed over to Ethernet NNI and PON OLT as the counter names for the, I guess, the Kafka title. So I didn't know if using the original Ethernet PON titles would be more appropriate, or, since we are talking, that's just a minor issue. I don't know if anyone has specific interest in that.
What do you mean by the title? Chip?
In the Kafka message, in the header for the KPI2 event, there's a title of what the counters are, what the event 2 proto message is, and these changed. They used to be Ethernet and PON, and they've been changed over to Ethernet _NNI and PON _OLT as the not really as a counter's name. I guess this is really more titles. So I guess I was I don't want to confuse it with the previous one.
I know maybe Amit, have you done work on this? Have you encountered this? Because I know you guys looked into the exporter.
Not really, not this aspect, not the title.
Okay, so effectively you don't care about the title.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to change just on mine, since this starts to probably affect northbound systems a little bit more. If I just go ahead and change the Python implementation to use the proper value.
I would say on this one, if we can avoid changing the exported Kafka message, that would be better. Yes.
Okay.
But if anybody disagrees with me on this one, I'll be happy to hear our counter arguments. No? Okay. Then on this one, just go ahead and change your implementation, Chip. And the last one?
Yeah, and the last two are not really. I just wanted to highlight that the NIM monitoring chart's broken. Well, the chart works, but if you actually go into Grafana, you won't see any counters show up, regardless of names and everything. So I think once the first 4 are addressed, I can submit a patch to the NIM monitoring if anyone uses that.
Does that need to be put into system tests somehow to guarantee that it's sort of working and we don't get a regression?
Yeah,
like
that
you do it, but somewhere.
Yeah, well, we actually have our own system tests, and that's actually sort of my reason of trying to make sure we lock these down so that we can implement our system test. You know, we can have system tests that watch these things. But you know, I don't know if anyone uses the NIM monitoring charts for their demos or whatever.
I thought we had a patch, a test for this. Theo Grish, am I mistaken in thinking that we had a test for the NEM monitoring?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I have not seen them.
Well, yeah, that will be a somewhat complex test to write. What we should probably write is a test that makes sure that once we have stabilized on the format for events, we should test that the format doesn't change over time.
Makes sense to me.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and do some JIRAs for the first.
Yep.
Well, I guess the first one is not really a JIRA. I'll fix the first one, and the fourth one I'll fix that on the Python versions.
Yep.
Or how I use it to follow what the vOLTHA is, and then I'll file 2 JIRAs on the second and third. And then just for the last one, we can shake that out once things get fixed. But I already have a fix for the JSON and the topic exporter. So if anyone needs that, or runs into the same issue, I'd be happy to share that, you know, ahead of time if they need it.
But so that's basically because the format, the JSON format of the events over Kafka has changed.
Yeah, well, actually in the Kafka topic exporter, it's putting out new titles and counters. But then if you go into the JSON that is used by the Grafana dashboard, it refers to those old values. So.
Oh, okay. So the exporter is actually working. It's the dashboard that is trying to fetch data that are not there anymore.
Yeah, it's using all the old names and counter names.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
But yeah, we can resolve that once the first few issues get settled and accepted by the community. Then we can address what the exporter does and what the dashboard JSON is. And that was pretty much everything I had. So
Chip, regarding the last one, vol 3735, can you just explain what exactly is the issue there?
I just wanted to highlight that a lot of there's additional counters that are reported by the vOLTHA in their messages, and I think 3735 I'd have to go out actually look to see what that issue is, but it used a lot of these counters use the old names, and I just wanted to highlight that if you know, going forward, we need to make sure that our counter names stay consistent. And let me see if I can find just a second. Yeah, there's just the get extended values. I didn't know. I'll try to follow up on the 3735 because it's actually there's a lot of reviews associated with it.
So yeah, you could reach out to me because we did some work on this. Yeah, so just wanted to understand what.
Yeah. I just don't want to break if we correct things. I don't want to. It looks like this misnaming is feathered out across several different reviews. I mean, several different Garrett issues. So, okay, that's pretty much everything I had.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll wait for a patch for the first one to move it to second, to 1 second, and then Jira's for the rest for these two. And you're gonna fix internally this one and follow up on these. This one with a meet and this one after of stabilization of these ones. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I'll probably do just Jira's on the first and second one, just so that we correct the Python. So if anyone refers back to it, we don't get into this issue again.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's good. Okay, so that was this topic, and that was all of the topics I had for today. I didn't have anything else to add to the list. Is there anything that you guys want to discuss before we break?
So Andrea, in the last meeting, I think there was something about the reason field, right? So
Yes.
Is there any update on that?
Okay.
What's the final?
There's Ken and Himani that are working on it. Ken, do you mind give us an update?
No, actually, it's Maninder that is working on
Maninder,
that one.
sorry. Yes.
And he's making the appropriate changes. So soon there should be a code review for that.
So one thought that came to us while thinking about it, could this change be kept backward compatible? As in, we bring in the new feature or way of things, but retain the reason for just to be backward compatible for the next release, and then we deprecate it out.
You mean keep the reason field in the device object?
Yeah. Because I think that this change, basically looks like it's being used by too many people in too many places, especially to figure out what's happening with the system, right? So taking it off suddenly, I think, is going to cause some problems.
But if we do the kind of backward compatibility, that means it's in two places, right? It's not only in the storage in the device object, but it's also stored elsewhere. And then we have a synchronization problem. I mean, I understand your issue, and I kind of agree, but I think we either hold off on the change until the next release, or we make the change. I'm not sure trying to make this backward compatibility is going to work. And this partially points back to the problem that we're using our intercommunication protocol, i.e. protobufs, as storage as well. Right? We don't separate those.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people using it, so my suggestion would be like to keep it as is in the reason field and not make the change that Maninder is doing. One reason for that, to go that way, is currently the device reason, the reason that we are getting from the adapter, it's not per the UNI ID. It's really for the device. So that got to change as well. It's not just because the device reason currently it's a device ID plus a field, a string. What we will need is to have device ID, a UNI ID, then the reason. So I think until that change is done, then maybe we just hold on to the Mander's change and just have the device reason in a device field. thoughts?
Yeah, that could make sense. Yes.
Yeah, if we anticipate that this is going to change again when when we support multiple units, then it will make sense to hold off until we make the change once and for all.
I would agree in the sense that the change is good. The one thing that I concur with David is that, yes, it's kind of wrong that we use the protos for both intercommunication and storage. One way to go around this would be not to save if we wanted to make the change, but have the API report the information in a backwards compatible way. You could keep the information elsewhere, not save it into the device anymore, but still report it when the device gets queried as a field. Meaning that the storage would be in the other location, but when the API calls, when the API gets called either through vOLTHA or through gRPC or whatever, you report the reason fetched from that other place. But maybe it's considered to be a hack.
This would be like if we do something like that to be backward compatible. Currently, what we're using the get device, and the device is a proto, and that device has the reason field in it already. So if we want to be backward compatible, we can't go the way that you mentioned, unless we just go with a different, a new API completely.
Okay. Does anybody else have thoughts on this?
I just think at some point we're going to have to look at breaking that bind between what we're using for communication and what we're using for storage. That's a major issue, though. It's a significant change.
Yeah, this will be quite a big change, but I think it will make sense to decouple storage and APIs.
I would agree totally. I would totally agree. My guess this would be what someone could say vOLTHA 3.x.
Given that we have already a feature set for 3.x, for me, this might even be a 4.x, but it is. It's just core to what vOLTHA is today, right? That coupling, and it's almost a rewrite.
Yep.
I think it's like we need to make a decision whether we really need a storage. If we don't need storage, then it's the moot point.
Agreed also on this one.
Maybe that one will be 3.x to figure out if we need storage.
Yeah, I would say so. A good discussion on storage would definitely be worth having for the next major release. When that's going to happen, it's a good debate. It's a good point, but it's a good question mark more than a point. But we need that discussion to happen. But let's not focus on it right now. So as I think everybody agreed to, we are gonna for now skip this change and fold it back into the changes that are gonna come when multiple UNI support is gonna be introduced. On that side of things, when is anybody already looking at multiple UNI support? I know Turk Telecom expressed interest in this, but is anybody actually started looking at it?
We are planning to start on that one around mid-February, I guess.
Okay, is there a design document that you already have, or you're gonna start with that design document around mid-February?
Probably we're gonna start with a design document. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. I think that's gonna be an interesting topic.
You probably already know. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Theo.
No, I was just saying that you guys probably already know, but supporting for multi-UNI will require some fair amount of changes in BBC to support that too.
That's good to know. Thanks.
So the good news is that I'm working on replacing the canned MCI library with Chips library, and that should make things a little easier. But as of now, the state machine is per ONU, while that will be moved to be per uni.
Okay, thanks for the info.
Okay, then I guess you can share with us the information you find, Serkan, as soon as you have something. I think it would be a good topic to be discussed in this meeting whenever there is something to discuss. I guess when you have a proposal on how to do it and what would entail in terms of code changes and things like that, I'd be happy to hear it.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, guys? No? Okay. Then if not, we get 15 minutes back of our day. Thanks everybody for joining, and I'll publish the recording as soon as possible. Thanks for the meeting. It was very productive, I think. And I'll see you guys next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.